Hey there, I'm Neil. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the host and producer of Pause and Rewind, the podcast that chats to changemakers, thought leaders and role models who all share a common goal. They're striving to make the world a more inclusive place. And, let's face it, we need it. Each guest has a unique story when it comes to doing their thing, and we often know who people are in the now, but how much do we really know about them? Pause and Rewind takes a moment to explore the experiences, realisations and relationships in my guest's life that led them to where and who they are now, because everyone loves an origin story. We'll dive into tales, anecdotes and a little of what makes our guest tick. So whether you're here for insights or inspo or simply want to know about your heroes, this podcast is for you. You might never know someone's story, but if you pay attention, you'll hear it, you'll see it and you'll feel it. So, are you ready to pause and rewind? Hey there, Essie. Welcome to Pause and Rewind. It's my Pride season and I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I am going to start with the opening podcast question, and that is, what does the world look like for Essie Nealy right now?
The world looks like I am preparing for my daughter's 6th birthday this weekend, and we have like 50 kids coming and a petting zoo and a unicorn and a face painter in drag. And so it's going to be a very busy weekend. And so I'm in very much mom mode right now.
That sounds gorgeous. I want to come. I mean, those are all the recipes for a fantastic day. You know, and elsewhere in the world, this is such an exciting time for you with your book coming out. I read it this morning. Spoke to me on so many levels. And I wonder if, just to kick things off, for those that are not familiar with your work, are you happy to share a little bit about who you are and how you show up in the world? And then what people can expect from the book?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first and foremost, I'm a therapist and I own an all queer and trans therapy practice in the Washington, D.C. area in America. And we primarily serve the LGBT population, but also families, allies, and those adjacent as well. And so a lot of the work that I do is around mental health. I have an online platform at SC Nealy on Instagram that I share a lot of those stories with, as well as one of my specialties is religious trauma, but another one is queer blended families. And so I talk a lot about that online and what that looks like to create non-traditional families in different ways. And then I also wear the hat of author, and I have written 30 plus books, mostly fiction, but this is my first nonfiction book, so I'm very excited. It is called Healing Sacred Wounds, a guide for healing from religious and spiritual trauma. It will be out August 20th, but you can pre-order it now if you'd like, anywhere books that are sold. And this book is really about how to rewrite your own story if you've experienced in the past any sort of spiritual or religious adverse experiences or abuse. It is not a book about, hey, this is what you need to believe, but it's a book about helping you unpack why you believe what you believe and then getting to decide for yourself going forward. So it's great for those who are deconstructing from religion, but it's also just as great for those who are still within religion and want to continue to be so. The goal of the book is really to help you understand yourself better and the impact of what a high demand, high control religious setting can have on you and how to untangle some of that in order to figure out who you really are and what you really believe.
And just for anyone that needs convincing, the book, as I said, has really had an impact on me as someone that has experienced religious trauma myself. And there's a part of the book where you say, where you analyze, you look at your religious trauma and you talk about how many people react to their experiences of it, and they play it down and they say it's not that bad. And the book is for anyone, no matter what impact it's had on them. The book's for everyone. And there's a really bold statement in the book, and it's actually towards the end of the book, but it's your voice makes people feel held through the whole book. And the statement is, I'm not anti-religion, I'm anti-trauma. I don't care what you believe or what you do, but when it begins to harm other people or yourself, then I might start to have some opinions. And I think that is it's so bold. It makes people feel so held. I can hear it in your voice because obviously having heard you speak. And that's the tone of the book. It's peppered with your lived experience, your lived expertise, your personal storytelling and what you've experienced, as well as so much insight and anecdotes and stories. And how are you feeling now it's almost out there in the world?
Well, I'm so excited, and it feels a little surreal because honestly, I started writing this book in 2018 or maybe 17. And it, took me so long to get a publisher to believe that in the book at all. I shopped it for years, and the feedback I kept getting from every publisher was religious trauma isn't a thing. And I was like, oh, this is exactly why this needs to be out there. Finally, I did find a publisher who really believes in it and is championing it. And so I'm so excited it's out there. But it's been a wild journey because just to get it written and then believed in, I mean, it's 2026 now. So that was a good 8 years to start to finish to get it out, which is wild.
And what are your hopes for the book?
My biggest hopes are to add more clarity, I think, for folks, to make people ask more questions rather than have more answers, to make things make more sense of like, oh, maybe that's why I felt that way, or oh, maybe that's where that disconnect was for me, and how do I figure that out? I hope it's comforting in a lot of ways, but I think clarity is the number one thing I hope it gives people in a ask more questions, not get more answers type of way.
That ask more questions, you really encourage people to be inquisitive about why they believe, like the root of their beliefs. But I think there's such a message of empowerment in there around whatever you believe, have some autonomy in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like definitely be informed and figure out what, experts and resources can help guide your knowledge, but that, you're definitely asking questions, right? One of the biggest tenets of religion that causes the atmosphere or potential for abuse is the concept of blind obedience, right?
Yeah.
And so not asking questions is really problematic in that way.
Yeah. How healing was the book for you? Because I know for me, having read it and fresh read it as well, I finished it this morning on the morning that we're having this conversation, that blind obedience thing really stuck out to me. And it was actually, as I became a teenager and came into my own and developed a bit more of my own viewpoints that seemed to sprout from nowhere all of a sudden and questioning authority. And I remember having a really clear conversation with my stepdad where he said, you will obey me and your mum will obey me. And I started saying, why should she? She's her own person. And the backlash that came off the back of that.
Yeah.
So it was really healing for me reading it. So I imagine going in depth in the way you did for the book, how much healing did it bring you?
Definitely a lot of healing in terms of working through my own stuff throughout it, but also, across like that total 8 years journey, my own experience with religion changed a lot. I was still in the church when I wrote this book originally. And while I'm not currently in the church and my beliefs are, ambiguous. I'm not sure where I land right now, and I'm okay with not having that answer right now. It was still like a very different version of me when I started writing it. And then, as time went on, I had to kind of work through the book and change the book as I changed as well. And so I think the progression of that and being able to see that in my own story has been really cool. But it's also really cool to see in my work because I specialize in religious trauma at work, and a lot of clients come to me for that. And hearing all of their stories and what they've been through and how people unpack that and what they have experienced has also led to this feeling of none of us are alone, right? We've all gone through some version of this. In fact, I'd venture to say that it would be pretty hard to be, particular in America, but in the world without having had religion impact you in some sort of way, whether good or bad. And so I think there are through lines for everybody in some ways.
Yeah. One of my through lines was the encouragement to be gentle with yourself, actually. And yes, we might experience trauma and violence, but that should actually inform how gentle we show up for ourselves and others.
Yeah. I think I put in the book one of my favorite quotes, and I have no idea who originally said it was, it took so much violence to become this gentle.
Yes.
And that's words I really live by, of that violence and trauma and all those things do not need to harden us. They can actually soften us in compassionate ways for ourselves and for other folks as well. And I think that a lot of high demand, high control religion discourages softening, right? It encourages submission, but that's not the same thing as softening. And so a lot of high demand, high control religion encourages you to be harder, tougher, more resilient, right? But resilience is a trauma response. It's not a goal. It's something we have to go through because of the world, but it is definitely not a goal.
Yeah. And you're right. It's seen as a badge of honor, not just when it comes to dealing with big emotional stuff, but in the workplace. What does, and I ask this from an inquisitive point of view, but also something that I've experienced. What does resentment and anger, what role do resentment and anger play for you now in life when you think about your experiences? It's something that I've had to let go of. It sometimes crops up when I think about it, I went through at the hands of religion and under the name of religion and God.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do they still show up for you?
There's always going to be moments where it shows up for me. I think on a day-to-day basis and baseline, thankfully, it does not anymore. There was definitely a period of time, when I was questioning and when I was angry of like, why do I have to be obedient? Why do I have to do these things? Why am I feeling this way, right? That I was very angry and very much struggled with that. And when presented with those belief systems again, I can feel angry. I think maybe I feel more protective or defensive versus angry, but it can come out as anger. Like when I come up against somebody who's using the Bible to try and like push me back into the closet or tell me I'm going to hell or something like that does anger me. But also I think just as much now, it brings up feelings of sadness for that person of like, I remember feeling like I had to, make people believe in God or be Christian in order for me to go to heaven, right? Because like part of it is like you have to evangelize, you have to make other people believe what you believe because otherwise that impacts you. And it's a scary place to live in. It's a scary thought to live in. So I understand why folks do it. It's not pleasant to be on the other end of that. So I try to hold compassion of like, that's really sad. But that doesn't mean it's any less angering. I think I feel more angry when it's people in positions of power who do that, right? Like my current government, really the Christian nationalism that's occurring within our country in America and really hurting a lot of folks and taking away my rights and many people's rights in the name of Christianity right now. That makes me really angry. But anger is a feeling, and I think it's a really valid one, but it's also a secondary one. It covers up more primary emotions of either fear or hurt. So really when I'm thinking about like my anger at the administration right now, it's fear actually. It might come out as anger, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid they're taking away my rights. I'm afraid they're going to kill me. I'm afraid they're going to kill my children's future, right? And so I try to lean more into when I'm feeling anger, what is it that I'm actually really feeling that's more vulnerable and more scary to kind of admit to myself.
Yeah. You talk about systems so succinctly in the book and how how they impact us, but how also we can play into them as well. And I love that you cover that. How different was it writing this book compared to the fiction book that you'd previously written?
Very, very different. Yeah. So different. All my fiction books, well, not all my fiction books, but the majority of my fiction books are romance novels. And so they are, obviously a different theme, but they're also formulaic, right? Like there's a story arc and then a happy ending is the whole goal. And this book has no arc in that way. And I hope that it gives people happy endings where they figure themselves out, but more so I hope it gives people like gray endings, ambiguous endings, more questions. And so I think that there's a big difference in that. The style of writing is also a little bit different. And I will say the publishing journey is wildly different in fiction versus nonfiction. So that was quite interesting to kind of relearn something that I thought I was like a pro at, like, oh, I know publishing. I've done it 30 plus times, but I was like, oh, totally different publishing for nonfiction.
What was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself in that shift from writing fiction to nonfiction?
I think I realized that there was always an element of my fiction writing that I was hiding behind. I wrote like those books over the course of 12 years, during which I was originally closeted, and then I was out by the end of that period. And my books over those 12 years reflect that journey of like cishet romance, then becoming a little like more not so much, and then leaning now fully like lesbian romance. And so I think that I realized, those were really wonderful tools, like narrative therapy for me to kind of work through my own stuff. But this book is like more of a journal in some ways. And then in other ways, it's more of an outreach too for others. So it was very interesting. It was a different focus for me, for sure.
Yeah. Your love of community, your passion for people shine through in it. And again, I love a voicey writer. And like kind of you can really hear that behind it. Community is something that is also really important to you, and you talk about community and blended family. And I wonder, with everything that's going on in the US, and obviously so much of it trickles over here, how do you ground yourself and keep yourself feeling able to deal with all of that? What does self-care look like for you and the community and your beautiful blended family?
Thank you. Well, I think it's a lot of outreach. I think a lot of folks struggle with the fact that community won't just happen to you. And that's why we seek out things like religion, because religion does give you a community that just happens to you. It's already created. The infrastructure's there. You walk in, suddenly you're a member, you've got the community. And that is super appealing. But in order to create a community that is truly custom tailored to you and who you are, you have to put in effort. You have to go out and meet people and check in regularly on people and take initiative and find a little bit of courage to like say hi to a stranger, host things at your house, make other people feel included, think about, how other people will feel and how you're impacting them. That takes time. It's not quick, but it's really, really wonderful once you've done it. And it can be done in really small ways and large ways. I'm really blessed with the queer community here in the DC area. It's really, really huge. DC actually has twice the national average of LGBT folks compared to other parts of the country, which is always surprising to folks. They always assume, like San Francisco or something, or New York City, but actually no, DC is I think we're at like 16% of DC is like LGBT. So it's like quite large. And I'm really blessed to have so many queer families or queer folks around here who are just always popping by and always around. And it feels really wonderful.
Yeah. DC is high on my list of places to go because the films, series, all of that is in my mind, but also because of that, because I know that it has a really great community. Yeah. Essie, I'm so excited to dive into your origin story. So with that, are you ready to pause and rewind?
Yes, let's do it.
Here we go. Take me back. Tell me all about Little Essie.
So Little Essie was kind of the origin stories for the whole book. I was raised in a cult-like pseudo-cult area in Southern Virginia. The organization has since disbanded from my understanding. There's some sort of infighting that happened in the leadership, which, I think is pretty common in things like that. But it was very much what you would stereotypically think of when you think of a cult. It was Christian-based, really, really conservative, evangelical, and then all those stereotypes, right, of like, as a woman, I wasn't allowed to wear pants or cut my hair, those sorts of things. Our media, like our books and things like that, were all approved through the church and church-based Christian stuff. We didn't have television until I was much, much older, and we were already out of that. I don't remember if we had other forms of media, but everything was very, very controlled, and like our music was worship music only, like everything like that. So we just didn't have any exposure to anything outside of our direct community. The only exposure like I had to anybody who didn't look exactly like me, like a cis white person or whatever, like my parents, was like when we would do mission work or when we would go, do service work for other folks, and we were very much taught this othering mindset, and it was incredibly difficult to go through. But at the time, I didn't know anything else, right? Like that was the only thing I knew in the world. It became very abusive as church leadership became like sexually predatory towards me when I was very young, and my family really struggled with how to respond to that appropriately in a way that would actually have helped me. And so my family fell apart after that, unfortunately, and that was really tough because it was something that I felt my parents blamed me for, that like what had happened to me is what had ended their marriage or been the start of what ended their marriage. And they said as such. So that was like something I held with me for a long time of like, oh, I did this, like this is my fault. And that created kind of what we were talking about earlier, a ton of anger, a ton of rebellion, a ton of outlashing at my siblings and other people, just like furious, right? Like how did a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old know how to deal with those big things? I didn't. And I really just struggled. I struggled with my sexuality. I didn't have words for it back then to understand, but like I remember church leadership when I was very young, maybe 8, 9. I'm not even sure how old I was, yelling at my dad, like, my name was Sarah back then. Sarah's going to be a lesbian, like the way you act. Like, look how she's already acting like a lesbian. I don't know what the hell I was doing back then that acted like a lesbian, but like, clearly people were picking up on things. And eventually my dad did kick me out of the home. I was 13. It was 1 week into 9th grade. He came into my room, handed me a train ticket and a suitcase and said, get out. And he had really struggled with my queerness up until that point. Again, I didn't have correct language, but he was very much, he and my stepmother at that time were incredibly derogatory in their comments to me about things that seemed queer about me. And they were constantly making sure I knew it wasn't okay and making sure I wasn't allowed to like seem queer. I don't know what I was doing at 11, 12, 13 that seemed so queer, but anyways.
What did you think of the world as all that was happening? Because like you said, we don't know. So many of us are labeled before we have the language and terminology, right? You've got all this going on, the sexual abuse at the hands of someone in power.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the world? Like, do you remember what you made of it all?
I mean, I think there was multiple things of like, one, I think I doubled down on trying to be straight, right? Like on trying
Great.
to like, well, why can't boys like me, or why can't I like boys and stuff like that? So I think there was that aspect of it. But two, I think I didn't think of the world. I think I very much believed that I very much believed I was going to die young. Up until my 30s, I believed that. I didn't think of the future or what an outside world would look like or anything expansive because my world was so small and so narrow. And I didn't think I'd make it to 18. I thought my dad would probably kill me by that point. And so for me, there wasn't any thought of that. It was just like, how do I get through till tomorrow? And how do I let everyone know I'm pissed about it? So it was like, unfortunately, I don't know, maybe that was a coping skill for myself of not to think about the future. But once I turned 18 and I was really out on my own and didn't feel under any control, because even homeless, like being under 18, you're really limited in what you can do and how you can live your life. And from that point onwards, I started going out there, meeting people, building community, trying to figure out what communities fit for me, and really just trial and erroring it for a very, very long time. The church was definitely a part of that. I joined a church in my early 20s that I was in for over a decade, and they became like surrogate family to me for a while, which was wild because then when I did officially come out, I mean, they did everything for me. They were there for me through so many things, through my daughter being ill, through my house burning down, through all kinds of things. They showed up for me so much. And then I told them I was a lesbian and I never heard from them again.
Yeah,
I was like,
the silence, you communicate the impact of that silence really well in the book.
Yeah. And that was just like all those things we went through. Everything you've known about me, how you've seen me grow, how you've said you're proud of me, how you've patted me on the head and told me how wonderful I am. That was it. That was the breaking point. Like that I like girls. That was it. It was very, really, really jarring for me and kind of another family loss, right? Because I'd already lost my family of origin and these people had become that next family, surrogate family for me. And so it was really after that point that I dug in more into truly creating a custom chosen family for myself that wasn't based in outside beliefs or anything like that, or even similarities, but was just based in like, we like each other and care about each other and are going to show up for each other.
Yeah.
So.
When you think back and finding, not really believing that you'd be alive, for such a long period of time, I guess I'm curious as to what kept you going. What kept you here?
Honestly, like anger, I think did for a long time. This like refusal to be like, you're not gonna get one over on me. Like, I guess this refusal to give up, really based in anger. And this like, I definitely struggle with the concept of justice. Like if something happens that doesn't feel just, which is very different than fair. I'm okay with things not being fair because I definitely believe in equity and equitability over equal. But when something unjust happens, I struggle to regulate. So I think that for me was a lot of like, I knew that this was unjust. I knew it wasn't right. And I was just angry, and that kept me going, kind of out of spite, maybe.
Do you remember you've talked about feeling to blame for your parents' split and feeling the blame that they placed on you?
Yeah.
Tapping injustice sensitivity syndrome for me with ADHD has always been a big thing. And I wonder, do you remember a moment where it shifted from this self-blame to actually this is on other people?
I think there were a lot of mini moments over time, right? Not just one moment. I think though the culmination, like the final moment for me was when my oldest daughter was really young and my dad kind of used her to hurt me. He made this implication that I was like keeping her from him or something, and I was using her as a pawn, where I was like, actually, no, I'm just like being a good mom and thinking about what's best for my child. And he did these like messed up things, or my stepmom did these messed up things around other stuff that involved my daughter. And it was the first moment that I realized like, oh, this isn't about me, right? Like they're just going to use anybody to do what they want. And one of the things like my dad would always say growing up is like, you'll see when you're a parent, like you'll have a kid who's just like you and you'll see how difficult you were. My oldest daughter is my twin in almost every way. And she's one of the greatest people I've ever met. It's not hard to be her parent. Well, it is a little hard, but like, it's not bad. She does challenge me, but it's not a bad thing. It does, make me pour a glass of wine every once in a while, but it's still wonderful.
So you see a lot of yourself in your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a moment in the book that you share where your dad talks to your partner at the time, your ex-husband, and says, good luck because she's really unlovable or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I guess how much of that has informed your behavior and what not to do as a parent for you?
Yeah, it has informed, I would say, like all of it. I am so clear with my children and verbally and physically in all the ways how loved they are. And, through cuddling and loving and affirmations and verbal, but also specifically, I make specific effort in moments when they are misbehaving or doing something that they shouldn't, right? Like I verbally say to my daughter, like, I love you even when you're angry and yelling at me. I love you even when you just hit your brother. Like, I love you no matter what, right? Like, I put you in timeout and I love you. Like, that those don't have anything to do with each other, and that you did a wrong thing. You are not a wrong child. You did a bad behavior. You are not a bad person. I use that language a lot with my kids because I really want them to understand that difference of like, your behaviors don't define you. And you're learning. You're about to be 6. Tomorrow she turns 6. And, this is the time you should be learning. You should be pushing boundaries. And I want her to grow up to be, a woman who challenges authority. I hate that I'm the authority right now. She's challenging, but I want her to do that.
Of course. Thinking about growing up, and growing up again with such a difficult backdrop and surroundings. Do you remember what you wanted to be? Because you're therapist now, writer, author. Do you remember what you wanted to be back then?
In high school, decided I wanted to be a therapist. So that happened pretty young. Yeah, it was a psychology 101 course I took in high school, and I was just hooked. Something about it I just resonated with. Younger than that, I would say probably I definitely thought about like being a veterinarian. I'm a huge animal person, and so I think that was like one of the things I thought about. And then I realized that vets have to like put animals down, and I was like, can't be doing that. Yeah, but definitely I've wanted to be a therapist forever. So
yeah, and living the dream and the collective that you have created. It just sounds so incredible in the work you do.
You.
What did early career look like?
Early career was really interesting because I was a little lost. I went to school and then grad school right away. I started in forensic psychology and working in jails and the criminal system and working with offenders in therapy. And that was really cool and wonderful. But I found that my natural optimism did not mesh with the environment, not even with the offenders and the clients, but with the people who worked with them. I really struggled with kind of this concept of like, well, let's just get folks to baseline and then get them out the door versus like, let's actually help people heal and become the best versions of themselves who they really love and feel most full. And so there was just so much red tape in that I just really struggled to find like my footing there. And then I got into a marriage that was not great really early on in an attempt to obviously please my dad, and he alienated me from the world, and I kind of lost everything while he just like took me further and further away from everybody I knew and everything I knew, and just my ability to like take care of myself because I was constantly having to take care of him and everything. It was always so like high stakes all the time, and that relationship turned violent and really rough and a lot of abuse happening. And one of the ways I was coping with it was starting to write during that time. And so some of my most early books were during that marriage and really just trying to figure out like, gosh, what is love supposed to be? Because this is not love. And so I was writing these romance novels in an attempt to like figure that out. And, eventually kind of once I left that marriage, I went back to grad school again and got a clinical degree to become a clinical therapist, and just haven't looked back since.
Yeah. Is there a career moment that felt like a failure that turned out to be the making of how you show up today?
I think there were 2 group practices I worked at before I went on my own. And I had major conflicts with both of the leaderships in those practices. And that felt like a huge failure. Both of them were very religious based. One was Christian and the other one was the leader was really high up in the Mormon church. And obviously both white males. And I just couldn't get along with them. The friction was so intense and it just felt like I was then failing. And I did like, not not fail out of either of those practices. I quit in a blaze of glory is what I like to say. Kind of burned those bridges behind me. And those felt like really jarring moments. They felt like failure. I didn't have a job. I was like, what do I do? And I went on my own and started my own thing. And frankly, the clients from both of those practices are still with me today. So like, it wasn't a failure at all. And it was definitely what I needed, but it was incredibly frightening. And I really questioned like, dang, like, why can't I get along with any bosses? And now I just really embrace, I'm a bad employee, but I'm a great employer. I just don't like being told what to do or answering to anybody. So I'm great when I'm the boss. I really think I'm actually a really good employer. And has been its own journey to learn too, because I was like, whoa, this is a lot to learn how to manage people. And I definitely made mistakes the first 2 years. And I feel like in a really good place now. But I am not a good employee. I don't think I could ever work for somebody again, for sure.
I mean, why would you when you've literally carved out what you're doing and how you're showing up?
Yeah.
In terms of that voice of knowing, you know, I can be an authority, but I'm not gonna have someone power me, kind of boss me around. Is that something that you think stems from your experience, or just from you as a professional, or are they too overlaid to separate?
I think it's both. I think my trauma for sure really rejects white religious men.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is really like that is a particular demographic that I am practicing like not having big reactions to. So for sure that I do think everything I went through, you know, in such a high demand, high control space and setting does mean I really struggle with allowing any sort of feeling of being controlled again, even if that's not fully rational because your boss isn't like actually, you know, well, a good boss isn't actually controlling you. But I think that's always something that I've struggled with. That being said, I will say that now as a boss, I really realize that sometimes it's actually the other way around, right? Like my employees kind of control me a lot. Like I have to really think about, like not outwardly, but like I have to think everything I do, I have to think about like what's going to make them happy and feel like cared about here and not quit and all those things. And so I don't know, kind of backfired on me a little bit there, but at least I'm still in charge.
Damn right. And then, you're a therapist, but then you've added this layer of inclusion, advocacy, belonging. When did you first decide to bring that into it? Because that's always the point, is a lot of people that I speak to on this podcast, they're out there, they're doing this thing, they're doing their thing that they're either trained in or they've kind of like spent their all their career working up to. And then this voice comes in of whether it's inclusion and stuff and merging the two. Was there a definitive moment where you decided to do that?
No, it was definitely part of like the plan in the beginning. That whole point of like, you know, LGBT Counseling Collaborative is for it to be a way that collaborates within the company, but also within the community, that we collaborate with the community to best serve the community while also best serving our employees and our clients at the same time. So that's always been the fabric and the goal and the value. That being said, I will say it did take me a full 1.5 to 2 years to figure out how to do that appropriately, effectively, and well. It was a really difficult, I just hadn't owned a business before. I hadn't employed people before. I hadn't managed folks before. I hadn't gotten all the resources and connections together yet. So it took a lot of time to figure out how to actually do that. But now a huge goal and thing I love about the company is how much outreach we're able to do, how much we're able to partner with other organizations in our area and nonprofits and causes to like help meet their needs and what they need, particularly for the queer community locally, but also nationally as well. So it's been really wonderful.
Yeah, it's what a journey. Throughout all of this, has there been someone in your life that has become a role model or that has shaped you? I
think there's been a lot of people. I think I have a lot of friends around me who I watch what they do and I'm so impressed by it. I always think of the thing that Steve Jobs said, not to quote a white man, unfortunately, but here we go, that his success is based on surrounding himself with smarter people. And so the more I've surrounded myself with people who impress the heck out of me, I've just been like, I have gained so much from that. And I think each of my friends and my closest friends are doing ridiculously impressive, cool things in totally different ways and fields and worlds. And watching all of them has helped me tremendously.
I always say, if there are cool people around you doing cool things, support them, champion them, be their cheerleaders.
Yep.
because they'll do the same back to you. And it's just, it all just kind of like it's a beautiful circle.
It is. It's very much like, I do not understand when people think about the world through competition, because I'm very much like a rising tide lifts all ships mindset, particularly when it comes to mental health and therapy. Like there are companies out there who really struggle with like, we're all in competition with each other for clients. And it's like, no, there's never going to be enough therapists to meet the need that we have in the world. Like it really, truly is. You help each other, you refer to each other, you take care of each other, and it works out really well.
With everything that we've spoken about and your story, I often ask kind of, does happiness and success look and feel how you thought it would? But within the lens of what you shared about not even thinking you'd be here beyond your 30s, what do you think about happiness and success, and what does it mean to you now?
I think I thought for a long time about success in terms of like achievements, and now, not to sound, but like I have a lot of achievements now, and, when is enough going to be enough, right? There's never enough. And so instead, I think now of success as like, I can call out of work today and not worry about it. I can go on a vacation. I can rest. I can be calm. I can enjoy like going on a walk and not answering my phone, and the world isn't going to end. And I think that to me has felt really successful. Just like more peace, more calm, more security.
And within the calm, I guess contentment, and which I often comes up whenever I ask this question, and people quite rightly say less about happiness and more about contentment.
It is, yeah. I tell people all the time, happiness is not a goal; it's a fleeting emotion. It's not meant to be. If you were happy all the time, that'd be wild. That'd be crazy. But content, that is definitely doable. I think my wife is a huge champion of that for me, in that she saw me working at unsustainable paces and was like, we need more vacations. Frankly, I don't think I'd had a vacation for like 10 years until I met her. And then she was like, no, we're taking another day off a week. We're going on vacations. We're doing all this. And it was really a very difficult mindset shift for me at first, but it has made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah. Yes. So rest is so important. Yeah. And especially in 2026, like especially.
Yeah. Seriously.
Essie, my final question for this segment is, looking back so far, what are you most proud of to date?
I am most proud of, the politically correct answer is I got to say my children. But like, if I didn't say my children, so nobody leaves any comments that I'm a bad mom or anything, I would say I am very proud of the company that I've created and the good work that we've been able to do. I'm very proud of the name we've built for ourselves through really being able to give back a lot and being able to stand on our values and live by them, but particularly live by them in a way that has been sustainable and fulfilling. Unfortunately, like a lot of group practices struggle with like being able to equitably pay their therapists, right? Because margins are tough or things like that. And I feel really proud that I found a way to treat my employees really well and make sure their bills are well paid and still give back so many pro bono and sliding scale services and things like that. And that's been a very careful needle to thread, but it's been really wonderful, and I'm definitely really proud of it.
Are you ready for some quickfire questions?
Go for it.
What album, book, or movie has had a lasting impact on you?
Oh boy. Okay, very weird answer, but V for Vendetta is one of my favorite movies.
Great movie. It's a great movie.
There's a lot of tie-in with the book and all of that. Just very anti the man. I love that. This concept of like, an anti-hero who's also has softness and fights for what's right and also is penalized for it, and all it's also great.
It's a great movie.
So
What's the saying you live by and one that you'd put in the bin?
That I live by? I really do think it comes to the one I said earlier. It took so much violence to become this gentle, like reminding myself that gentleness is a strength.
Yes. And one for the bin?
That I would throw out?
Yeah.
Honor thy mother, honor thy father.
Right in the fucking trash.
Immediately.
A high five for that one. What's been the best adventure of your life so far?
Adventure.
And adventure in the broadest sense of the word.
Broadest sense. I think unpacking what I believed and rebuilding my ability to critically think has been a huge adventure that has led to a lot of incredibly fun moments along the way.
Yeah. And what 3 words would you use to describe you and your origin story?
I would use resourceful, unstoppable, and fortitude. think I would use Fortitude.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's fast forward a little bit. What exciting things do you have coming up? Obviously, the book, August 20th, people.
Yes, August 20th. Please pre-order. Pre-orders help authors so much. It goes a long way with our publishers and them wanting to keep us on. So that's a big one. I think obviously I'm really looking forward to the birthday party this weekend. That should be really fun. I've got some really great vacations planned this summer that I'm very excited about. I think a lot of the things I'm excited about these days are like really smaller scale, like just coming home and reading a good book and just having a quiet time are just really fulfilling for me.
Yeah. And following on from that, what brings you joy?
What brings me joy, cooking is something I really love, chopping vegetables specifically. You could just give me a row of peppers and let me just cut them for hours. That's a great time.
What is your go-to dish that people know you for?
I don't have one specific dish, but I tend to always cook around like Mediterranean foods or Italian foods, specifically Greek or Italian. Because I'm Greek and Italian, so I stick in those.
I'm off to Greece for 10 days in the summer and I'm so
gosh.
Very excited about the food.
Sounds amazing.
What practical takeaways do you have for anyone wanting to create an inclusive project or venture like your collective?
Say, don't do what I did where you just dive in and figure it out as you go unless you want a lot of stress for 2 years. I would say find mentors, find people who have done similar things that can help you and talk you through it and walk you through it. Find support and just, lean on other people a lot.
Yeah. Collaboration and co-production just makes life so much easier.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't believe we're already at my final question, and it's this. Do you have any words of encouragement or wisdom for anyone out there to help them get to wherever they might be going?
I actually just wrote this on Instagram the other day. I think that the concept of like FOMO or fear of missing out is something that holds a lot of us back. But I tell people, like, if you can find joy in missing out on things, that is a really huge key. Find joy in missing out on things because whatever you missed out on, it wasn't part of your journey. And you're going to always get to where you were meant to be. But in order to get there, you have to joyfully miss things and be okay with it.
Ouch and boom on so many levels, because I think you're so right. Like I think I think social media has a lot to answer for within that, right?
For sure. Absolutely. It definitely does. It really causes that.
What tips do you have for people kind of like to just simply be more than okay with missing out?
I think a lot of it has to do with like that, your own self-confidence and identity work and finding the things that you truly enjoy independently and autonomously. And then the people you really enjoy independently and autonomously and who see you for exactly who you are and are okay with it. Like those friend groups who don't mind if you showed up late or you bailed last minute, and those are the people that you need in your life.
Yeah. Love that answer. And I have loved this conversation. Thank you so much for saying yes, for spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing the book with me in advance. I can't wait to see it out there in the world and see all the magic it does. But thanks for you. Thanks for showing up and best of luck with the book.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.